Hi guys, hang on a minute. Gotta get our song on here. Hope you're doing well.
You say, if this happened to you, you'd hang your head in shame, you'd run away and disappear. You'd never show your face again. But you don't hear what you're saying. You don't see what it reveals. Your lack of self-awareness shows the weakness that you conceal. You think shame is something you can hand me, like a weight I have to bear. But you don't know the road I've walked, or the battles waiting there. You don't know the nights I've conquered. You don't know the tears I've cried. You only see the person standing. You never saw the battles inside. This is resilience. This is the fire that remains. This is a heart that kept on beating
Hopefully it's working now. Let me check it. Let's check the mic. Come on. Hello? How come I can't hear anything? Hopefully it's working now. Okay, now it is. Let me check it. Was there music? Oh yeah, okay. I thought there wasn't no music playing either. Okay, hold on. Let me just get combobulated here. Hold on. Do I have to put my phone on the charger? Hold on. Let me just put my phone on the charger. So there was a short day in court, but the nanny, Lainey, did testify. And she said that Lindsay was a wonderful mother and she loved her, and that they let her go before Thanksgiving because they said that Lindsay wasn't going to return back to work. But we'll go over that. And then prior to that was more of the toxicology stuff. So, you hear me? Good. And what else? So that then, right after the nanny, they ended for the day. Not nice. But they're going to have hopefully a full day tomorrow. We'll see. They said that they were doing this to take care of a court matter. I just bit my lip too, and I meant to get some. Oh shoot! Now my watch is. Hold on. Let me put my watch on the charger, because otherwise, then I. So no, they said that they had a court matter, and then they said, "Oh no, we don't. They don't have the court matter anymore. So no more court matter. So then why didn't you just keep going with the trial?" But I guess they didn't have their witnesses and yada yada, right? So, yeah. Now, hang on a sec. Here we go. Anyway. So we're gonna go over the day, and then we're gonna go to the court of public opinion and see if anybody's mind has been changed or whatever. Okay. Look at this. Hold on. It's Betty White. It's Betty White lip gloss. I just bit my lip. Okay. Now, let me put my Betty White over here. All right. Let me go to this. So, here's what happened today. Eitan Negri had been called to testify. He is a physician's assistant, and he was working at Brigham and Women's back in January of 2023 in the trauma burn surgical ICU when Lindsay Clancy was brought in. He testified how he sutured Clancy's injured right and left wrists, using a total of 4 sutures. He also said the cuts on her wrists were only on the top layer of the skin. Defense attorney Kevin Reddington began his cross of Eitan by asking how long he worked at Brigham and Women's before seeing Clancy, and he said he was in his 2nd year there. And he said, "You're not suggesting for 1 minute that Lindsay Clancy could have gotten up and walked out of the hospital?" "No, sir." And he said she was critically ill, and then he agreed, yeah. And he also pointed out that Lindsay Clancy coded, and she received a blood transfusion and had a major spinal injury. And then he was done. And then Nicholas Roberts, a former Massachusetts State Police crime lab technician with the toxicology unit, testified. He said he works for Thermo Fisher now, but in 2023 was working in the State Police crime lab. He said he worked with other members of the toxicology unit to screen Lindsay Clancy's blood and urine for alcohol, and he said no alcohol was detected. Screens were also done for various drugs, and they were positive for benzodiazepine and some other substances. And then the cross-examination, Kevin Reddington asked Roberts if the blood panel would be from one day or several different days, and he said he wasn't sure in this case if it was one day or over multiple days, and he agreed with Kevin Reddington's characterization that it was a rather large quantity of drugs in Clancy's system. Then Justin Brower, Dr. Justin Brower, a forensic toxicologist for NMS Labs, testified. His lab reference laboratory in Pennsylvania, doing post-mortem clinical and forensic drug work. He testified that his lab was provided a blood sample from the Plymouth District Attorney's Office in Mass on April of 2023, and that they had requested 4 specific drugs to be tested for: lamotrigine, mirazapine, quintapine, and trazodone. The amounts of all four drugs were found in Lindsay Clancy's blood, but there was only one, he said, that was a little elevated, and that was the quetiapine. And I know that the prosecution said you must get to test people's blood who have taken their lives with drugs, and he said yes. And she asked if any of the levels in Lindsay Clancy's blood were at that level, and he said no. The one that was just a little elevated wouldn't take your life, and he said, like, he gave the number that was way, way higher. So yeah, they said that. Let's see. And then the judge called this break, and then they got the jury out, and I don't know, then they came back, who knows what went on. And Brower was continuing, and then he was done, and several exhibits were being entered as part of the stipulations that Lindsay made on Tuesday. So the jury will be allowed to rely on those as fact in the case. The judge read the stipulation out loud about DNA testing that was done on one of the blue exercise bands and the red-brown stain in the basement. And the DNA samples from the blue exercise band included a mixture of Dawson, Callan, Cora, Lindsay, and Patrick Clancy. The red-brown stain tested for DNA from Cora. And then when this was going on, Kevin Reddington objected and said, I object. Then the prosecutor said, I object to his objection, and added, this is ridiculous. And then they had a sidebar, and then the testimony continued. Let's see. They finished talking about the DNA profiles that she analyzed from the crime scene, evidence, and the defense did not ask any questions for cross. And then Elaine Rossi, I think they call her Elaine Rossi, the nanny. And this is the testimony that was the most compelling today, I think. She was a nanny, and she said that she started the week of Labor Day. It was a very brief time, Labor Day of 2022, and she primarily, during the week, she cared for Callan. And she said that she did do things like some cleaning and cooking and things like that because that's what she did as a nanny for others, and so she just started to do it. And then they showed the notebook that her and Lindsay wrote back and forth to each other in. And let's see. They asked about Callan's care, like, oh, she's doing the cry it out method. Oh, she's very precise with this. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Detailed instructions about sleep and food and keeping a schedule, and did, that's normal. Yeah, that would be normal, not too controlling or whatever, right? So they're just going through all that. And when Lindsay wasn't home, or she wasn't around, sometimes she'd be downstairs in the basement working out. Sometimes she'd be dropping the older kids off at school, but she would often see Lindsay at the home while working, which she worked about 9 to 1 p.m. And so at this time that she's working 9 to 1 p.m., Lindsay is not at work. So it's, she's probably dropping the kids off, or Patrick dropped the kids off, and she's out of the house and doing stuff, or downstairs working out. Or they said sometimes she goes to this other place, Kingsbridge, something to work out at. And let's see here. On one occasion, she did testify that she cared for all 3 kids, but mostly she cared for Callan. And then there was a video of her giving the baby a bottle. Defense objected to it, but they let it play. And she's like, oh, see how he's loving this or something. It was very brief. It was Callan drinking from a bottle. And it was sent September 9th, 2022. The prosecution then asked if Rossi was ever able to take the children out of the house. She said she would take Callan for walks. And on one occasion, she took Cora and Dawson to a tumble fun gymnastics class in October of 22 because Lindsay told her she couldn't drive. They said, did Lindsay tell you why she couldn't drive? No. She said she was at the Clancy house 3 days a week from September to December of 2022. And then she said she came to find out that Lindsay had some issues, and she shared with me that she was suffering from postpartum, she said. The nanny had not noticed any changes in Lindsay's demeanor, but she said that Lindsay told her she was seeing some doctors and that she was going to start taking a new medication because she was going to stop nursing. And the nanny said she saw prescription bottles around the house. They were in a cabinet to the right of the refrigerator. And that she also testified that Lindsay told her at some point she was having difficulty sleeping and that she was sleeping in the basement. Around Thanksgiving, Rossi said Lindsay told her after coming back, she went on a walk with Patrick and they came back in, and then she was playing with Callan on the floor is what the testimony was. And then she said that they told her, hey, Lindsay's not going to go back to work, and there'll be 2 of them home to care for the kids. So they gave her 2 weeks notice to make other arrangements. And Rossi said she had a chance to see Lindsay interacting with the children in the home and didn't notice anything unusual. And she was asked by the prosecutors to describe the 3 Clancy children. She said Cora was a girly girl who loved her babies very much. She was very sweet. She loved arts and crafts and loved playing with her Fresh Mart, which was a child's supermarket. Dawson was full of energy, rambunctious, funny, and silly, and Callan, she said, was the happiest, sweetest, easiest baby. He was just a love. And at this time, you see Lindsay all, her head in her hands, their hair shielding everything, and appeared to be what you would believe is sobbing. But we don't know because we didn't see her face, so just can go on that. But yeah, would it be unusual to be sobbing if you killed your children and then they're talking about your children? Then she was cross-examined, and Kevin Reddington asked her if she stayed in touch with the Clancys after she stopped working for them. She said she stayed in touch and reached out to wish Lindsay a Merry Christmas, and Lindsay responded. Then, oh yeah, he asked her if she ever told the state police investigators during a March 1st, 2023 interview that she said something. He said that. Did you say something like my Lindsay would never do that or something? It was something weird. And she's like, I don't ever remember saying that. He's like, but you did love Lindsay, didn't you? And she's like, yes, I loved her. But she told the police investigators that she never observed any issues. And she said, I observed a wonderful mom who loved her kids. She cared for their safety. She was very concerned with Callan's eating and sleeping. She was a wonderful mother. She said she never felt Lindsay was being controlling, despite all the detailed instructions that Lindsay would leave to her in the notebook. And she also testified that she was aware Lindsay was having trouble sleeping. Okay, and then he confirmed that Lindsay Clancy thought the world of her, meaning the nanny. And then the prosecution asked one more question, whether Lindsay Clancy had ever discussed any intrusive thoughts, and she hadn't. And then she was excused, and the judge went to sidebar, but then it was 12:30, and we knew that he said it was going to be 1 o'clock was going to be the end, and so that was it, done deal for the day. So now it's time to go to court of public opinion, right, and see what's see what everybody felt about the nanny. You guys can put in your thoughts too, right there. Okay. What did you guys think about the nanny? Do you think it helped Lindsay or hurt Lindsay, or no change? Let's see. Someone said they found it interesting that the nanny noted how easy and amazing of a baby Callan was. Well, Patrick said that too, right? He's just happy Callan. Like, that's the baby that pushed her over the edge, or I guess she just couldn't handle the all three amidst her horrible mental health. I was kind of surprised hearing a third party with tons of childcare experience basically call him a dream baby. Someone said, I see where you're coming from, but postpartum is not discriminatory. A lot of my friends have had terrible postpartum with the dreamiest of babies. I'm not defending her at all. That's what somebody said. The prosecution could have made the argument that Lindsay was so hurt by her treatment and that no one was giving her attention when she asked for it, that she horrifically hurt her children and herself to prove a point, meaning acknowledging the desperation and the taking of her life attempt, but still knowing that what she was doing was wrong and did it in a selfish tantrum. Why are they so hell-bent on proving she didn't hurt herself and was actually fine on a normal amount of meds? This is actually why I think she did it, somebody said. We're early in. I could absolutely see them still going in this direction after establishing the baseline of facts here. This is good insight and an interesting storyline for the defense to go with. I imagine they will put it together in their closing argument. Another thing, if she admitted she murdered the children, but it was psychosis, why doesn't she just lay out exactly what the voice told her to do? Kill Dawson first, take Cora to God next, or is it really going to conflict with her insanity plea so much that this is why they're in trial? The whole thing is so skewed to Lindsay Clancy protecting her arse so much. I refuse to buy the psychosis story. Someone said, I wonder how she chose strangulation over overdosing them on her benzos at bedtime. She chose a very personal way of ending their lives. The strangulation, and I believe their version that she tied their neck and left, is just evil. She's cruel. My belief, which is completely unfounded, is that if she had more time before PC returned, she would have claimed an intruder or something. She didn't just tie it and leave it. Cora was 5 years old. You think Cora would have just sat there if she just tied it around her and just left her there? She did. Her hands weren't tied. She'd be grasping or clawing at that. Come on. That's not what happened. And then there's Cora's blood in the carpet, which means her... Come on. Let's see. Someone said, I'm shocked there were no cameras that captured moments of the psychosis. I think it's a bit convenient they had baby Callan to monitor, yet no audio present from that day. Maybe she turned it off, which would prove consciousness of her actions. I wonder if any baby monitor footage will be available in the upcoming days. That would be very intriguing addition and insight into her with the baby pre-murder. I doubt they had them in the basement, though, both fortunately and unfortunately. Okay, let's see. So maybe I didn't hear it all, but why was the nanny only going to be working 8:30 to 1 if the reason they got her was for Lindsay to go back to work? Wouldn't she be working 12-hour shifts? Who's watching the kids the rest of the shift? She said that was the agreed upon hours, then was let go because Lindsay wasn't going back to work. She worked night shifts, so that would be to cover while she sleeps, getting home from the night shift, and presumably when she would wake up and be able to take over. Honestly, her schedule sounds like a wreck, and I can empathize with her not wanting to go back to work. Night shifts F up your whole sleep schedule. Most nurses work 3 12-hour days. Most nurses that I know here, it's 3 12-hour shifts. Most nurses work 12-hour shifts, so they do an overnight, and then they have 4 days off. That's how I know a lot of nurses here that work in the hospitals and labor. In fact, one of my friends, she was my labor and delivery nurse when we had Ethan, and she lives like right up the road from me. Yeah, that's how it is. And her husband's an ER nurse. But yeah, that's what they normally do, 3 12-hour shifts. So I don't know what these people say, a night shift. Most nurses do a night shift. I don't know. You guys, isn't that your... I mean, if you're working in a doctor's office, of course, you're not going to do a night shift. If you're working in a hospital, you're usually doing a night shift, right? Okay. Let's see. So someone said, right, she usually worked 1 or 2 shifts weekly. Once Cora and then Dawson was born, I believe they chose night shifts to make the commute easier. I don't think that's correct, but okay. Patrick also worked from home. Let's see. Someone said, I think the nanny's testimony was pretty damaging to the defense. If you can't sleep, why would you work out? That's exactly what someone in a manic state would do. Did you listen to the psychiatrist's testimony the other day, thoroughly explaining why exercise can be part of hypomania? That part's not damaging. A hypomanic person would be working out on little sleep, so it would help them. I'm just catching up on today's testimony, so maybe it's more clear by the end, but is anyone else confused as to what angle the prosecution is taking? Why are we continuing to hear from the doctors and the forensics about the same exact things? Someone said 100% agree. The blood spatter it is. The repetitive photos, it's never ending. I don't know whatever strategy, this isn't doing them any favors. My understanding is that in Massachusetts, when the defense enters an insanity defense, well, it's not criminally responsible. The state has the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant was saying. The prosecution or the state or the Commonwealth always has the burden of proof. Oh my gosh, some people really, I guess, well, maybe they're just new to true crime and new to trials. Okay. Her lawyer does not have the burden of proof. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's not. Oh. They're trying to prove that she was not psychotic due to over-medication, as she had normal or therapeutic levels at the time. After proving that she wasn't serious about taking her life, as she didn't cut below the fatty layer on her wrists, and that she did not dive headfirst from the window but rather slid from a hanging position, they never should have taken this to trial. She's certainly culpable physically, but in my opinion, it's impossible not to have reasonable doubt in this regard because no one can attest to her true mental state, given the multiple doctors, medications, etc. Someone said it is the defense's choice to plea or take it to trial. Someone said they are also taking such a horrible approach, minimizing her injuries on her taking her life, and how messed up she was doesn't help. There are so many other ways to look at this, but they still hold Lindsay culpable without minimizing her injuries and mental health struggles. So you just don't charge and try someone for the murders. There would be no advocacy for the children. They deserve justice to be served. By not taking it to trial, you're either proposing that she just be free to live her life, or she gets locked up without a trial, which is unconstitutional and a violation of Lindsay's civil rights. I understand what occurred. However, from a legal standpoint, the state has a weak case. Her husband didn't believe that this should be brought to trial either. Both he and Lindsay are enjoined together in their civil suits. The state's burden to prove she wasn't in psychosis, medically induced or otherwise, is a steep hill to climb. Someone said, yeah, I'm agreed 100%. That's the issue with this case. What the person you're replying to said, they want to put the blame on someone, so they're going after her. I don't think they have a strong case either. Also, as a mother myself, there is absolutely no way a mom in the right mind could do that. So in turn, the mental health providers should be the one getting the unfair blame then? Someone said they have a triple homicide and just don't charge her with anything. Get the F out of here. Someone said whether or not someone is guilty or not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect is a jury question. People don't get a free pass at murdering their children because of a history of mental health conditions. Someone said, I can't reconcile the phone call to Patrick. They're saying the kids would have been dead at this point. And she was on the phone, pretending everything is fine, telling him what medication to buy for Cora, who was already dead. She was hiding what she was doing so he would think everything was fine and not rush home. She was lucid. From the testimony from the psychiatrist the other day, someone could 100% carry on a normal phone conversation while suffering from psychosis. It was also just a 14-second call where she just confirmed the generic medication was fine. It wasn't lengthy or in-depth. You also have no idea or facts that Cora was already dead at that point. CVS was 3 minutes away, and the medical examiner cannot determine the order any of the children died, so that is just speculation on your part. It's not speculation. Her movement tracking data said she climbed 3 flights of stairs before the phone call to Patrick, and that she never went back down. So it's reasonable to assume she was done killing the kids by the time she was on the phone with Patrick. Fair enough that some can have normal conversation in psychosis, but psychosis isn't the not guilty by reason of insanity threshold. It's whether or not they could conform their conduct to the law. And it seems like her call to Patrick was indeed to keep him from coming home because she could complete the murder, so she had some level of lucidity. Someone said, you're assuming what her intent was in taking that call to keep him from coming home. And if she was in a psychotic state at the time, you don't know why she took the call or what she was thinking. We also don't know if in that state she truly knew that what she was doing to the kids. So it is speculating. Again, A mental health professional testifying for the prosecution said under oath that entire call could have happened under psychosis. And that is a main point of the case. The prosecution is arguing she was not in psychosis nor having hallucinations. Again, that's not the not guilty by reason of insanity threshold. I agree with the threshold is for not guilty by reason of insanity and mass things. Disagree. She's been assessed by many professionals. Yeah, I get that. I just don't think that necessarily builds a solid case. No one's testimony has been damning, in my opinion. The nanny said she was a great mom and she had no concerns about her. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. Patrick said the same. She said she still ultimately killed them. People are getting really confused, thinking that she is fighting for her innocence. She is not. She has admitted guilt. The argument is whether her mental issues were so severe that she was not in control at the time she did it. The point being, she acted normal. The defense attorney seems to be wanting to get through this trial ASAP. Lindsay must be running out of money. I'm sure he'll take his time, saying the same thing over and over when it's his turn. Someone said, I can guarantee you the jurors also want this to be over ASAP so they can return to their normal lives, having to sit through witness after witness discussing details that have already been stipulated to. So the prosecution can belabor a point not in question, may not be sitting well with some of the jurors and being held hostage by it all. That's because the prosecution has 168 potential witnesses and everything is very redundant. I get that the prosecution wants to establish credibility, but yesterday was brutal when the witnesses went over their life story first. It's like they're conducting a job interview. I guess they've never seen court. They do that in every court case. Oh my gosh. I'm glad Reddington stipulated he knows they're qualified. This trial would last forever if he didn't start stipulating. He already said the prosecution wants a circus, and I don't disagree. Someone said, I get that, but Kevin Reddington has been quite redundant and hostile to his witnesses when cross-examining. He started interrupting the prosecution well before the stipulation. I haven't watched a trial where that's happened, so it's new, but that's what I told you. And the judge just allows it. He just jumps up there. It's just crazy. I've never seen anything like that. I would agree. He didn't even say object or your honor before addressing the court. He would just blurt out a statement arguing mid-witness testimony. I think they're just doing it because of his age and that, he's been around, he's 75 and, they're just like, oh, okay, we can't control him, so let's let him go like that. I like this judge, but he allows a lot of arguable badgering behavior, in my opinion. He's in his 70s, very well qualified, experienced, has won some important trials, but laying it on a little thick. Her parents are paying a fortune for him. And if guilty as charged, there will probably be an appeal. Any attorneys here to remark on mass law regarding appeals? Let's see. Well, also, wouldn't the parents be entitled to half of that Duxbury home that Patrick sold for, how much did he sell that Duxbury home for? Was it $800,000 or something? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. So they would have gotten half of that money. Well, the mortgage, I don't know how much their mortgage is. Okay. Their mortgage, but they probably put that towards the attorneys and, I don't know, her 401k or anything she could have had too could have gone to the attorneys, right? It doesn't just have to be her parents paying for that. Let's see. I think he wants to move it along to spare Lindsay. This is torture for her. He's a very compassionate man. I hope Patrick, who was gifted $1 million via GoFundMe, is helping her parents with legal fees. So GoFundMe prohibits the use of funds for the defense of violent crimes. A first-degree murder conviction in Massachusetts triggers an automatic appeal to the state Supreme Court. Okay, let's see. What do you think the nanny actually thinks about all this? I would love to know if she thinks Lindsay is guilty or not. It was interesting how she said she loved Lindsay. She seemed very sweet and like she had genuinely really liked Lindsay before. I feel bad she got tied into this. So stressful to testify in a very public case like this. Someone said, I'm honestly exhausted by this prosecution, and I imagine the jury is also. As much as I am team prosecution, I'm frustrated that they have not been able to present a connected and coherent narrative portraying their case clearly on this. I read the state will likely wrap up their case in chief Friday, but put on a lengthy rebuttal. Really? We're 7 days into a trial that is expected to last months. Right. I'm seeing the state's rebuttal may be longer than their case in chief. Trials are nothing like TV or movies. They are long, repetitive, slow, and boring. They have to follow the letter of the law and make sure that the verdict cannot be overturned on some technicality. I get the impression that they are trying to ensure that nothing is left unturned for her to poke holes in on an appeal. I think the Commonwealth is going overboard after Karen Reed, as they don't want another acquittal on a high-profile case. I understand they need to provide context to the jury on the things that they've been stipulating to, but they're getting so far into the weeds on so many unnecessary points, it's not even funny. Yeah, the way they keep trying to get people to say superficial when there are actual pictures of the cuts that the jury can see. Like, I can imagine as a juror that a person trying to cut themselves would have some difficulty and still mean to do it while not flaying themselves down to the bone. Especially since the cuts she did make sprayed blood all over. As a first-time person taking their life, she probably thought, okay, that'll work, and not, wait, as a nurse, I know those are only superficial and not too sufficient in depth on the veins. Better work a little harder. I saw photos of the room and the knife. Does anyone besides the jury and court staff see pictures of the injuries? I didn't see any, not looking for gore, but to assess whether or not they were more than superficial, as EMTs term them. Yeah, I was team. They are putting the building blocks together for the case, and this isn't supposed to be entertaining, but I think they are struggling to weave together their theory of the case with the witnesses. Maybe we'll get there, but you're kind of left thinking, okay, what were we supposed to gain from that? I imagine the jury is starting to feel similar. Lots of the trial left, 6 weeks or so. Some of the witnesses they have called up there are not saying what the prosecution would prefer them to say. Yes to all of the above. I got so caught up in the nanny and totally forgot. What did people think of the toxicologist saying the overdose was basically lame? I think the more telling bit will come out of that testimony was the toxicologist admitting the drug Lindsay Clancy was prescribed was for hallucinations. That's a win in the defense column. Did you get that from something? Because I heard someone say that. Don't agree. Yes, it's an antipsychotic, but that's not the only reason it's prescribed or what it's used for. Most drugs in psych have multiple uses. They said, no, I watched the testimony myself and literally heard him testify the medication is for hallucinations. His words, not mine. A nurse wouldn't fudge an overdose, in my opinion. That's a good point. She tried 3 different methods, and none worked. All were kind of half-arsed in some way, from the superficial wounds that go across instead of down, sliding out of the building and hanging rather than dropping, and only taking a few crushed pills. And as a nurse, she should know how to do that. As someone who just killed 3 people, she should know. Okay. I wish they had asked the nanny if they had her after she was let go for temporary break, would she have been willing to do this? In other words, I'm surprised they didn't ask questions showing there was help if she needed it. I believe Patrick's on the witness list for both the prosecution and the defense. Defense can call him because he's listed, and they're not required to, though. Let's see. Has anyone changed their mind since the beginning of the trial? I've gone back and forth a few times and still don't know where I stand. I don't feel like any of the evidence presented thus far has been able to move the needle for me. Someone said I'm undecided as well. Most of the time I do think she was unwell, but I'm not convinced of psychosis. I personally think she may have killed them in a rage that built up over time due to the lack of sleep, stress, overwhelm, and depression. And that said, where I struggle is where if she is determined to be not guilty because she was mentally unwell, then where does that line end? I feel like you could argue that so many people kill because they're mentally unwell. Are we going to keep all of them out of prison? Unlike many others, I don't think she is a monster, and at this point, her life's over. She'll have to live with the fact that she murdered her 3 beautiful children for as long as she lives. I don't think it matters where she ends up because she's already living in a prison of her own making. Someone said, yes, fully. I was leaning towards not criminally responsible, but now I'm heavily leaning towards guilt. I'm still open to evidence that changes my mind. People are too caught up with her being postpartum. She seems to have been non-compliant with taking her meds, and she checked herself out of a hospital after 4 days. She had access to help and wasn't following through. She ended up murdering her children because of it. That's on her. I wonder how a mom, who doesn't appear as perfect as Lindsay Clancy was, would be perceived if they approached treatment the same way as her and then murdered their children. It could come out that she started being more compliant with treatment or evidence of her actually being in psychosis, so I'm open to changing my mind, but I am doubtful that I will. Someone said I was guilty before guilty. Now, because there's no evidence of psychosis, I do think that she probably would not have murdered her kids if she had a long-term, high-quality psychologist, talk therapy, who could diagnose her properly. I think she had severe OCD. I think a high-quality psychologist that she was seeing regularly would have also been able to convince her to stick with the treatment plan and see through any manipulations Lindsay was conveying through her personal narrative. Lindsay should not have been seeing all those different psychiatrists and short-term without long-term therapy. I'm still leaning towards guilty, but I'm trying to figure out what they're getting at with all this DNA evidence and such. Okay, so let's see what's going on in our chat. Okay, duping Delight, you say you lost a lot of... Oh, Duping Delight is there. I thought you were saying, hi, Duping Delight, how are you? Duping Delight says, I wish I didn't have chores. I was in the hospital 14 hours and got behind when I got home. I did some last night, and I'll do the rest this morning, I think, if I'm able. I did all the chores cat-related last night, so they're happy. Kittens. The neck cut looked pretty severe to me. Megan L. says, yeah, I'd say if she needed a massive blood transfusion, then she might have bled a bit more than superficial. Hello, Megan L's, Linda, Dupin Delight, B-Lady, said you'd be back later. She have a wash-in and other late-night chores. I got to catch up on your stuff. Evelyn. I wasn't sure if that was you, Evelyn. I don't understand. You have 2 new accounts now. I made one a mod, but then it scared the absolute crap out of me because I didn't know if that was you, because then you came in with another new account. Are you still here, Evelyn? Okay. Her blood test showed it contained Seroquel. that is used to treat conditions involving psychosis. Yeah, it's an antipsychotic. Delusions, or when a patient's having trouble perceiving reality. Let's see. I think it was a strong day for the defense. I think the blood test that showed Lindsay was on that med for hallucinations, and really that was important. She told one of her doctors that she was experiencing hallucinations. Let's see. Ivy, is Carolyn giving comments from folks who actually... Yes, of course. What do you think do you think I would do comments from somebody that didn't watch the trial? Yeah, it's a court of public opinion. We do it every night to see what the public opinion is thinking who's watching the trial too. Great. Let's see. It's been a long day, no chores for you. Okay. Let's see. This is all horrible and just sad. Lots spent on blood evaluations. Okay. All right. So, yeah. I don't know. Did any of you change your mind with today's testimony? Everybody's saying the day was pretty good for the defense, right? Let's see here. I don't think there were any real bombshells, but Laney's testimony confirms that the decision to close Patrick Clancy's testimony by reading the instructions for Callan as if they were totally unhinged was a very bad move by the prosecution. As I suspected, Laney found nothing wrong with the instructions, probably because she's received similar ones from half a dozen other moms. The defense's treatment of the instructions not only made them look petty, but probably insulted a couple of the mothers on the jury. I don't think her notes were unhinged, but I think they showed someone who needed to be in control. She seemed super on top of everything. Can't imagine that the crimes happened because she didn't feel in control of her life anymore. Oh, she can imagine. As a nanny, these notes are pretty abnormal, honestly. From dozens of mothers and fathers, not once have I ever been left a note like that, or a note to begin with. I think it might be a red flag for me if a mother left a note like that, unless it was my first time caring for an infant ever. The nanny had also seemed like a mother, grandmother even, and was probably fully capable. People jumped all over the fact that Patrick said he loved her. Well, if that's the case, I must be having an affair with her because I love her, and I only saw her on a witness stand for like 15 minutes, LOL. Anyone get the impression that Lindsay Clancy was an extreme perfectionist? From what I've heard so far, she seems to have some OCD with perfectionism, trying to control everything, and she finally just snapped under the pressure. Let me see here. Her journal entries sound like a first-time mom stresses, not the third child. Well, I don't know. However, it seemed like she was overflowing with pressure she put on herself, and she didn't quite seem to cope in healthy ways. She just wanted medications to fix it. She needed extensive therapy to get through her control, perfectionism, and OCD tendencies. Let's see. Intrusive thoughts are a known symptom of OCD as well. Let's see. tracking everything on paper about baby sleep. I wonder if when she became a labor and delivery nurse and then had babies, she failed to figure out how not to be a labor and delivery nurse at home. But I keep waiting to see some evidence presented, some sort of record that she actually sat for 55 minutes once a week and examined her thoughts and her emotions in front of the presence of a licensed therapist. I see the evidence of the medical appointments to do medication checks, which she evidently did not take the medication. But where was the psychotherapy? Okay. I don't know. That's really all that is to do. Let me just see what else went on today. Why am I feeling tired already? Deranged son, 21, charged with murdering his mother in a Florida home after getting out of jail. Who is this? Gibson Nash. Nash. Nash? Interesting. Okay. So this is Gibson Nash. There we go. And how old is Gibson? 21. Let's see. And he killed his mother, aged 56. So it says that a deranged son beat his adoring nurse mother, she was a nurse, to death in their brand new Florida home, and then he went on a hit and run rampage, covered in her blood, just a week after she bailed him out of jail. Gibson Nash, 21, allegedly strangled and beat his mother, Margaret Dufour, in their home in Eagle Creek. And where is Margaret? Margaret, where are you? Where she had moved in a last-ditch effort to help her mentally ill son get better care, according to Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd. He had a press conference. It's one of the most personally violent murders we've seen in a very long time, Judd said. Nash, who suffers from bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, allegedly strangled Dufour, 56, and then he stomped her into a bloody puddle in the middle of the floor. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. He did this on July 21st. Deputies uncovered the disturbing scene after responding to 3 hit-and-run crashes that morning in which Nash stole his mother's 2022 BMW, and he rammed it into multiple cars and refused to stop, and then he got into one last accident by speeding over the center line and colliding with another vehicle. Emergency responders brought Nash to the hospital, but were suspicious when they observed that his hands and shoes were covered in blood, despite the crash not involving injuries that would cause him to bleed. Hold on, please. Here's his mother. We killed. That's going to go over probably 3 times. No, it's not. I don't know what we're doing here. Hold on, please, here. Okay. So that's his mom. That's his mom. He killed her, beat her. That's a nursing picture, too. She has a stethoscope. Look at that. And doctors at the hospital learned that Nash had attempted to take his own life on Tylenol, and he was experiencing liver failure. I'll tell you that Tylenol is terrible for your liver. How many times do I say that? Can't stand Tylenol. After discovering the car was registered to Dufour, a registered nurse who just got a new job at a local hospital, police went to their home and discovered her dead in her home office. Investigators then uncovered disturbing details about the mother and son relationship, including that Dufour had just driven to Knoxville, Tennessee to bail Nash out of jail on July 14th. The son allegedly threatened her with a knife over not letting him play Xbox back in April, police said. Wow. Just weeks before, on April 6th, Dufour called 911 after locking herself in a smoke shop bathroom to tell police in Knoxville that Nash had threatened her with a knife and assaulted her. Charges against Nash for the alleged vile threats were dropped in Knoxville, according to the sheriff, and Dufour moved to Eagle Creek in the month before her brutal death to try to get Nash better mental health care. She had a new house. She had a new job. She was a wonderful lady. She was a great mother. She would not give up on him, even after he threatened to kill her and pulled knives on her and hit her and attacked her. That's all according to Judd at the hearing. Let's see. Polk County authorities had recently been to the home to settle a dispute with a moving company that tried to upcharge the hardworking mother and actually helped her move the boxes into her brand new Florida property. The blood found all over Nash came back as a DNA match for Dufour, and her son was covered in bruises from the sheer force of beating his mother, the police said. Gibson was extubated on Monday after his liver showed signs of improvement, and he was charged with first-degree murder in Dufour's death. He is currently in the hospital, and he will be transferred to the Polk County Jail after his release. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What do you guys think about that? That's unbelievable. Oh my gosh. This almost reminds me of a podcast my daughter and I were listening to about this gas station that kept a tiger, Tony Tiger. I think it was in Alabama or something, in this cage in the gas station. And that's when we used to listen to these podcasts when we go on road trips. We used to listen to Modern Love a lot, but this wasn't, I don't think this was Modern Love. This was like some investigative one. It was after Serial came out and when his podcasting was, the true crime was kind of new. So this is crazy. So let's see about this case. Shoot. Okay. Man eaten alive by a 660-pound pet tiger that he fought 2 years to keep the tiger at his home. So he is in a 2-year legal fight to preserve his right to house the exotic animal on private land but he met a tragic end when he was fatally attacked by one of his own pet tigers. Norman Bawalda, known as Norm, was 66 when he was killed in January of 2010 by his pet tiger. In the years leading up to the fatal incident, Norm had challenged a local township ordinance that prohibited exotic animals on private property, which was enacted after a 10-year-old child was attacked by a tiger on Norm's property in 2004. The exotic animal collector from South Wold, Canada, successfully overturned the legislation in the Supreme Court of Canada and continued keeping big cats until 2010, including a 660-pound tiger that would eventually kill him in a horrific attack. It comes after disturbing ways an alligator that ripped a hiker's arms off was revealed. According to Toronto Star, the affluent Dutch native kept 2 lions, 2 tigers, and a cougar as pets, with large felines housed in a screened enclosure on his land. On January 10, 2010, Ontario Provincial Police confirmed Norm was fatally murdered and mauled by one of his pet tigers at his property approximately 28 kilometers southwest of London, Ontario. Norm engaged in years of disputes with neighbors regarding his exotic wildlife collection and had apparently entered the 660-pound tiger's enclosure to feed him when it turned on him and killed him. Wow. Wow. Ontario Provincial Police Constable Troy Carlson stated at the time the owner of some exotic animals went out to feed the tiger, which was in a cage or a large pen, and the animal attacked him and killed him. We don't know what exactly took place because no one witnessed it, but the tiger ended up attacking and killing him. Shortly afterward, one of Norm's relatives discovered his mauled body and managed to secure the big cat in a separate area of the enclosure before alerting the authorities. The wild animal was then observed pacing back and forth in the confined space where it had been isolated when the police arrived on scene. In the aftermath of Norm's gruesome death, the killer tiger was removed and relocated, and the exotic animal owner's collection was dispersed. Neighbors said that he told us once that he trusted the animals more than he trusted people, and that he felt closer to animals than to people. She said he appeared like a bully, but he was a very sad man, lonely, I think. Another neighbor, Patricia England, recalled that Norm had assured them that his animals wouldn't hurt a fly. She noted that as beings on this planet, everyone has a place, and Norm's home wasn't the right place for the wild animals. She added, "It's not the animal's fault. It was just doing what a tiger does." The deadly attack on Norm wasn't the only incident to take place. 6 years prior, in June of 2004, a 10-year-old child was attacked by a Siberian tiger that had been released from its enclosure on a heavy chain so the youngster could photograph the deadly beast for a school project based on Norm's exotic animals. The attack on the young child triggered a protracted 2-year dispute between Norm and the South Wold Township regarding the council's subsequent prohibition on keeping wild animals as pets on private land. According to the Telegraph, the 10-year-old sustained serious neck and head injuries requiring hospitalization and reportedly losing his footing and tumbling near one of Norm's pet tigers that had been brought out of the enclosure for photography. Following the implementation of the exotic animal bylaw prohibition, Norm contested the ban through legal channels and prevailed, with the Ontario Superior Court judge determining the bylaw was flawed and excessively broad. Okay, I don't know why they brought that up. Because that's so long ago. They must be missing some news or something, right? Wow. America's condo market is unraveling and coyotes are moving in. Wonder if they're making those noises. Georgia woman had an unnecessary hysterectomy after a lab mix-up and a cancer misdiagnosis. Perez Hilton's family breaks silence after self-harm and hospitalization. Let's see what they're saying. Just so you know, Cyclospora has expanded to fruit and other vegetables, guys. Fruit and other vegetables. Just so you know. But let's see. After Perez, what does his family say? His family issued a statement. Many of you have reached out with concern for Perez, and we are incredibly grateful for the overwhelming outpouring of love, support, and prayers. We can confirm that Perez is receiving medical care, and our family's focus right now is on his well-being. Thank you for your compassion, understanding, and continued support. The Perez Hilton team and family. Now let's see what the cyclosporas are. Cyclospora continues to expand around the country, and Dr. Redfield is urging people to stay away from certain fruits and vegetables beyond lettuce. Let's see what we've eaten. Okay. The CDC reports that an additional 6 states are reporting cases of cyclosporiasis, with over 22,000 cases confirmed and suspected overall in the U.S. Michigan, which reported the first 2 deaths from the outbreak, now we have 2 deaths, has become a hotspot. Yikes. With more than 11,000 confirmed cases. Officials confirm both individuals who died had significant underlying health conditions. Beyond that, health officials in the UK have said they've witnessed a substantial increase in cases among travelers who are returning from Mexico. Investigators have linked it to some cases of lettuce grown in Mexico and distributed by Taylor Farms. The parasite has also been found in blueberries, raspberries, and snow peas. Great. Wonderful. Wonderful. You have to get those vegetables that were contaminated with human fecal material. And so it's not something we see a lot in the United States. Human fecal material. Caution should be exercised when consuming raw vegetables. The safest thing to do is get locally grown vegetables. That's what we had our fresh tomatoes tonight. They're beautiful. Because the real risk is these intentionally imported vegetables right now. The only way you get cyclosporiasis is if you have to eat vegetables. The only way you get cyclosporiasis is if you have to eat vegetables. What? Expanding on the vegetables, Redfield pointed out that the parasite is very hard to wash off. So if you wash your lettuce and you put it in a lettuce spinner and you have cyclospora in that lettuce, it's still going to be in there. You can't wash it off. Everybody's going to stop eating vegetables and fruit. Oh my gosh. Redfield acknowledged this sickness is treatable for those who get ill for more than 48 hours. It's actually susceptible to an antibiotic we call Septra or Bactrim. So rather than take 2 to 4 weeks to get better, you might get better in 5 to 7 days. Oh, brother. Oh, Elon Musk's rocket crashed into the moon at 5,400 miles per hour. Okay, let's see what else we got. North Carolina mass shooting. Oh boy. What happened now? Okay. Should be going over there. Come on. There you go. Multiple people were killed Wednesday in a mass shooting at a home in North Carolina. Caswell County deputies responded to a call for service just before 8 a.m. at a home on Brooks Road in Prospect Hill. Deputies found multiple gunshot victims. One person was taken to the hospital in an unknown condition. The agency, which is assisting, said there are multiple other fatalities. Let's see. The identities of the victim and the suspect have not been released. SBI crime scene investigators are on scene, processing evidence and conducting interviews. The agency said there's no threat to the general public and the shooting was contained to the home. Developing story. Wow. CDC warns of salmonella outbreak linked to jalapenos. What is this? Okay, wait a second. Wow, that is crazy. Okay, I just saw this is a horrible case. Wow, here's it. What is this? Another House of Horrors with what the hell? Okay. What does... That is Jordan Wilson, Melissa Keel, and John Keel. There were 4 children living in their home that had been removed, and their parents are now charged with child neglect. Detectives with the Putnam County Sheriff's Office rescued a severely neglected and malnourished newborn on July 7th. The mother was taken into custody and charged with neglect. While arresting her at her Florida home, police also removed her 2 other children, but were unable to take a 4th boy because he had a different mother, and they did not have enough evidence of neglect at the time. Authorities say they returned with a search warrant and to rescue the child on July 28th after discovering a house of horrors filled with flies, rotted floors, and animal feces. Authorities in Florida have discovered what they are calling a house of horrors, where children were sleeping on mattresses, swarming with fleas atop feces-covered floors. The case began on July 7th when detectives from the Putnam County Sheriff's Office were contacted by a caseworker from the Department of Children and Family Services asking to have a baby from the home evaluated after discovering the newborn's severe diaper rash and weight loss. The mother of the 6-week-old child, Jody Danielle Callan, had previously been contacted by DCF and was asked to take the child to see a doctor, but allegedly refused, according to a copy of the arrest report. And one detective arrived at the home in Flora Home, Florida, a town located approximately 60 miles south of Jacksonville, and they requested that the mother not accompany them with the newborn because of the accusations of neglect. And this is the mother. Here we go. Come on. What the heck? Hold on. There's the mother. Let's see. At the hospital, the newborn's vital signs were so weak that the doctors determined the infant could have died had the PCSO and DCF not intervened and rescued the baby from the home. Following that determination, a warrant was issued for the arrest of Callan, 26, on charges of aggravated child neglect with great bodily harm and child neglect. She was taken to the Putnam County Jail, where she's being held on a $35,000 bond. The 6-week-old was placed into the care of DCF after being released from the hospital. Her other 2 children were also removed from the home at the time and placed into the care of DCF. After witnessing the state of the home and then executing the warrant for Callan's arrest and the rescue of the additional children in her custody, PCSO sought a second warrant to search the home. The warrant was granted July 28th, and according to the Sheriff's Department, it resulted in the arrest of 3 more adults and the removal of a 4th child. Detectives say they sought the second warrant largely to remove the 4th child from the home, as they did not have enough evidence of neglectful conditions to do so upon first responding to the home. The deplorable living conditions found inside the residence by detectives included unsafe ceiling repair, black mold, rotting floors, animal feces throughout the home, and flies. Detectives learned that one child had been sleeping on a mattress that was swarming with flies, and noted that there were patches on the ceiling that had visible signs of black mold, and they were painted over with white paint, along with rotted floors including a bathroom with busted water pipes. Upon entering one of the bedrooms, detectives noted there was uneaten food on dishes along with flies and cockroaches. A separate arrest report for Cannon's boyfriend, Jordan Wilson, that's the guy with the tattoos on his face, a copy of which was obtained by people, said that as authorities prepared to enter the home, a strong odor of animal urine was emitting from inside the residence. And once inside, they also encountered a strong, unhealthy odor coming from inside the refrigerator that almost made a SWAT team member vomit. Those conditions resulted in arrests of Melissa Keel, 50, John Keel, 52, and Wilson, 30, on child neglect charges. Wilson is the biological father of the 3 children who had previously been removed from the home, and the son of Melissa, who is married to John. The 4th child, the 4th child removed from the home had been adopted by Melissa, but according to the arrest report, it is the biological child of Wilson, who had lost custody following a previous DCF investigation. Those 3 were also booked into Putnam County Jail, where they remain in custody. Wilson is being held on $2,500 bond, while Melissa and John are being held on $3,000 bond. They also noted that 4 dogs and 3 kittens lived in the home, and they've been voluntarily surrendered to the Putnam County Animal Services. Words cannot describe the house of horrors these children were living in. Well, you know what I can't understand? If the house was so deplorable, how was that not conditions to take the 4th child? Just the living conditions? I don't get. Do you guys get that? I don't. Why did they have to get another search warrant? That way, if it was so deplorable like that, that should have been enough to take the kid. Words cannot describe the house of horror these children were living in, says Sheriff H.D. Gator DeLoach in a statement after the arrest. Animal feces and urine everywhere. Black mold, flies, small children trying to navigate hazardous flooring conditions. And in the sad part, they have grown around all this, not knowing that they were dealt the absolute worst conditions I can imagine living in a first world country. DeLoach also applauded the individuals who stepped up to show these young children what a safe home, family, and love should look like, while also noting that the children and the foster parents caring for them have a long road ahead of them. As for the newborn, who was initially rescued from the home, DeLoach said the child is thriving, happy, and gaining weight. All 4 defendants have made their first appearance in front of a judge who set their bonds and ordered that if released, they were to have no contact with any of the children. Court records also show that on August 3rd, Wilson and the Keels were appointed Regional Conflict Counsel, which occurs when there is a conflict of interest with the Public Defender's Office. Wow. So there's another one with 4 kids. Very similar to the one in Ohio, huh? Parents and... crazy. Oh my gosh. Perez Hilton privacy request called out after years of him mocking celebrity struggles, someone's saying. So I was trying to find out last night if that was what was done, yeah. Well, maybe he'll understand now not to do it. Grandmother killed 4 kids in northern New York. Oh, this is the ones that, yeah. that murder-suicide in Mechanicsville. Chipotle removes jalapenos, possibly linked to Minnesota salmonella outbreak. Oh, the eBay stalking scandal. Yeah, didn't I talk about that? I think I did. I think there's a documentary about it, isn't it? It's very, very interesting, but I think it's a little too much to go into tonight. Okay, hang on. There's an update on that toxic love story. Remember we covered it, and there was a 3-year-old girl that died after getting her head stuck in a kitchen playset. Okay, I don't know where that went. She said that they did a bait and switch on her. They say the hotel that's made famous by The Shining is at risk of burning down in the wildfire. Bucky's new ban? What is Bucky's banning? Hold on a minute. Bucky's is banning something. Hold on. What's Bucky's banning? Bucky's... Walk up to a Bucky's entrance and you'll notice something new taped to the door. A sign now tells customers pets are not allowed. They were saying that when we were there. We had Roman right inside. Full stop, with one exception carved out for trained service animals. For a chain famous for its endless snack walls and spotless bathrooms, the rule caught longtime visitors off guard. I think that's ridiculous because it's a travel destination. And how are you going to say pets are not allowed when you've got people traveling with their pets? And a lot of times it's too hot to leave pets in the car. Why can't you bring the pets in? That's what I don't get. Why are you not allowed to bring the pets in? I saw that after we had Roman in there. I'm like, nobody said a word. Nobody said one word. Maybe I saw it on the way back because we had Roman with us. They even took a picture with Roman and the character that walks around. So this is catching people off guard. It says that Bucky's customers have noticed signs preventing pets from entering the travel center. Although service animals are still permitted, one customer who hasn't visited in a while described stopping in only to use the bathroom during their kid's job interview nearby and noticed the sign for the first time. Their reaction to it is what turned a routine post into a full-blown argument online. The person wrote that they love the addition to Bucky's doors, adding that they love seeing businesses slowly taking their buildings back from the entitled dog owners. Hundreds responded. and a large majority of customers agreed with the ruling, saying they'd like to see similar signs at other stores. For customers backing the ban, the reasoning comes down to something simple. Buc-ee's cooks and serves food inside, and animals wandering the aisles raise the same health code concerns that they would at a grocery store deli counter. The sign is not an attack on pets. It's a store finally enforcing a rule other retailers have quietly followed for years. The sign spells out the rule: no pets allowed, with an exception for service animals trained to do work or perform a task. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, only dogs individually trained for a specific task qualify. Comfort and companion animals do not meet that bar, giving Buc-ee's legal footing to turn them away. No dogs allowed. Okay. Not every customer sees that distinction as fair. You're not our crowd. No dogs allowed. Buc-ee's has confirmed the ban extends to emotional support animals too. Animals that provide comfort but aren't trained for a specific task. For travelers who rely on those animals during long drives, the sign reads less like a health code update and more like a rejection of something they genuinely need. Their frustration is where the ban starts losing supporters. A service duck names Wrinkle. A man traveling with his service duck, Wrinkle, was told by Buc-ee's employees that only service dogs were allowed. Okay, this is going to go on and on and on, right? Duck incident, split opinion. Oh my goodness. Past policy changes at Buc-ee's have frustrated travelers before, and reactions to those changes have been mixed. Combined with recent shift restricting how customers can pay for gas, some longtime visitors say the chain is trading its laid-back road trip reputation for a stricter rule book. One sign and one policy at a time. Ask a customer without a pet, and the sign is a welcome fix to a problem that should have been addressed years ago. Ask a service animal handler who's been second-guessed at the door, and it's a policy that punishes the people it claims to protect. Buc-ee's hasn't announced any changes to how the rule will be enforced going forward. For now, both sides are watching to see what happens on social media and viral posts. Okay. All right, let me go back to you guys. Hang on, please. Hold on, I'm trying to find you guys. There you are. Okay. Good night, Jen. People try so hard to adopt, and this... What happened? She adopted her son's child. Her son was the father of the child. I can't get to the comments. Trying to take down... Oh, there it goes. Oh boy. Why didn't the mailman turn them in? The mailman? I don't know. The mailman. Hold on a second. Let me get these. I have to get these pictures down. There. Okay. I don't know. I'm not so clear what you're talking about by the mailman. The mailman. Did we talk about the mailman? Hold on a minute. I got to check something here. Do. What did they get? Nope. Yes, that's me. Hold on, I gotta check something here. What got shipped here? Yay! I have to see if this, because Jimmy will be out of his mind. Okay, that's that. All right. Let me just send this through. I just gotta forward this. Forward to. This? Why are they sending this twice? What's tomorrow, the 6th? So the 7th, the 8th is Saturday, right? Okay. Sorry, I had to look at my mail for a second because I have something coming. Oh, and then my shoes. Well, I don't know if I told you guys the shoe situation. If you saw my Nordstrom's ad, you saw the shoes that I wanted, right? And they didn't have my size when I was doing the Nordstrom's video, but I wanted them, right? And then, so they were made by G.H. Bass, and they were on sale still on G.H. Bass, so I ordered a pair. I was like, oh, great, they have my size. I ordered a pair. Then 2 days later, I got a email, and it's like, oh, we refunded your order. I'm like, gosh, why? And they said it was some really weird thing. They tried to tell me what the address. And we've had the same address forever. So then I finally got through on the phone line to this woman, and I was not based in the United States, that I can say, and I don't think her command of the English language was very proficient, because she really didn't understand. So I said, how come this is canceled? And she said, well, because your zip code is also connected to a P.O. box. And I said, yeah, but I gave you my physical address. Yeah, but the zip code is connected to a P.O. box, so you have to get a new physical address. So I'm like, what? I said, that's never happened before. So then she's like, well, and I said, okay. And then she's like, can you change? No, we have to cancel this order and redo another one, and you have to send it somewhere else, right? And so I go to her, wow, this is crazy. I've never dealt with this. I think you should give me another discount for all this. And she goes, don't say that word. I said, what are you talking, the word discount? She goes, don't say that word. It's very disrespectful. I said, the word discount? And then she hung the phone up. True story. So then I tried to call back, right? And I couldn't get them at all. It put me on hold. And I literally walked around the lake and was still on hold. And then I hung up and called right back, and it said, we're closed now. So I was so pissed, okay? So then I had just placed another order. She told me it wouldn't go through to that address. So then I placed another order with another address. Because I can, because I'm on the border, I can put a different town and zip code and I'll still get it. So I said, I'm going to place 2 orders. One's going to get canceled, one to go through. The next morning, I had 2 cancellation notices. I was so pissed. And it said that your order's been canceled because there's no more stock. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I really felt like I was being punked, that this really wasn't happening. So I was pissed. I went to Nordstrom's. Oh no, I punched into Google this shoe. And it brought me back to Nordstrom's. And I'm like, but Nordstrom doesn't have my size. Then I clicked on Nordstrom's. Nordstrom has my size now. So I'm like, gosh darn it. It's the same price. So I ordered it. Would you believe? I was like, that's not going to go through. That's not going to go through. That order went through. And guess what else? One of the GH Basses, all of a sudden, it's on its way to me too. Craziness. Yeah. Hold on a minute. That makes no sense. I know. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. The mailman could have reported the family. Hold on. So, if they're comfortable, I'll just keep both. If they're like, I'm going to return the one. It's just so ridiculous. Ridiculous. It makes no sense. None at all. I'll have to write them a strongly worded letter. Okay. They literally said they didn't. Oh, wait, this is the real kicker. G.H. Bass said the reason they had to cancel now this time, it wasn't the address. They had to cancel this time because they didn't have the stock anymore. Guess what? I went on the website and they had it. They still had my size. It's not right, I tell you. It's crazy. What time is it? Why do I feel so tired? I just feel so tired. Now I'm getting hot. Now I need my fan. Where the freak is my fan? I think I finally have to charge my fan. You know, I've been using my fan all these days and I've not had to charge it. And I've been using it. Now it's on the yellow battery, so I have to charge it. But boy, did I use it after my walk. Because it was so humid and I was so sweaty. Right now I feel like whether it's the anxiety getting me hot or whatever, but I think the customer representative tried to sabotage you. She was crazy. I mean, I was like, what is disrespectful? The word discount? I'm like, can I speak to your super, and then that was it. I'm going to say, you think the word discount is Disrespectful. Okay. All right. I don't know, right? It's just crazy. Anybody know what this one is? Where's Hart tonight? Hart, where are you? Murder, where are you? Where's all our game players? We're gonna have to use a lifeline. I thought I did that. Thought I did that. Oh, I think I know what I did. Hmm. Oh, all right. I don't know. I might just call it a night. Where is everybody? Where are you all? If you're still here, I mean, there's got a lot of people here and no one's in the chat. Where are you? Have you all fallen asleep there? If you're here, say here. The door open because it feels so hot. It's closed. I don't know why. Let me see my fan for a second. All right. I think I'm going to what's going on with my fan? Oh. I am so freaking hot. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna say good night. I think. Super chat cat. I hope you're doing better. Better than last night. Uh-oh. My turbines. Hold on a minute. My turbine was not in there good, huh? There you go. There you go, Mr. Turbine. Let's see. Linda, you fell asleep. Tomorrow's the trial again. And I should be posting a Zoom number. Sometimes I don't post it till like 10 or something because I will watch upstairs while I'm getting ready for the day. And if I'm, like in and out of the shower, I'm not going to be down at the computer starting a Zoom. So it's good though because then we'll start it like an hour into it where they haven't even started much, but then we can fast forward through breaks and that's good. So we watch it in its entirety, and if you want to come in, if you're a member, you can come on into the Zoom with us and watch it. But now I feel much better. And I think I'm going to go, let me see. Let me just check my mail here. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go. I will See you later. I want to go get some rest. So everybody have a good night. God bless. Prayers. And we'll see you soon. Everybody be well. Prayers for all that need him. God bless. Love you guys. Good night. Thank you for hanging here. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you. Bye-bye.